Hi, I'm Chris, and today I'm going to show you how I set up my multi-camera podcast production. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to set this up, you're going to know what equipment I use, and if you stick around to the end, I'm going to show you how you can enter to win an ATEM Mini ISO. Today we're going to be setting up a podcast with 2 guests and 3 cameras. For context, I built my setup this way to accomplish a few specific goals. Produce professional quality podcasts for businesses and customers, edit audio and video in real time, provide 24-hour turnaround for customers, and produce my own podcast with the same quality as the Joe Rogan Experience. So if you're looking to achieve at least one of these goals, then this crash course is designed for you. So let's dive in and talk about equipment. Regardless of the brand of equipment that you use, there's a few basic pieces of equipment that you're going to need in order to achieve this setup. Microphones, mic stands, XLR cables, audio interface, headphones, 1/4 inch to aux cable conversion, a computer with a DAW or DAW, cameras, HDMI cables, video switcher, TV or monitor, memory cards, lights, and tables for your guests, and a table for your production gear. So for microphones, I use the Shure SM7B, it's the Joe Rogan microphone, and I have that run into a Cloudlifter to give it extra clean volume, extra boost. I use these Gatorworks mic arms that have XLR cables built in, and then I have 2 additional XLR cables to connect the Cloudlifter to my audio interface. In this case, I use the Rodecaster Pro with 4 inputs, sound pads, and the ability to pipe in audio from your computer or phone. It also has a mini SD card or micro SD card in the back that you can record your podcast directly to the device. I use these Beyerdynamic headphones. My computer is a MacBook Pro, and I use Logic Pro for my DAW. The cameras I actually use now are the Canon XA55s or the XA50s, but for this instructional video, I'll be using my Canon Vixias as a stand-in. They're good cameras, but the XAs have a sharper image and they work better in low light, but they are double the price. In order to run from the cameras into the video switcher, you'll need 3 HDMI to HDMI mini cables. For the video switcher, I recommend the ATEM Mini ISO. This version allows you to switch the cameras back and forth in real time, but the ISO feature allows you to record each individual channel as well as the final cut. I also save those individual video feeds to an SSD drive, and I use the SanDisk for this. Get some SD cards so you can record directly into the cameras. You'll need a small TV or monitor so you can see what you're doing. For lights, I use the GVM 800 set. I'd recommend a minimum of 3. So that's the equipment list. Now let's look at setting up the audio. I like to set up each section or equipment type in its entirety, then move on to the next section. So start with the audio, then move on to the camera equipment, then move on to the lighting. So I set up the audio first. That way, if all the cameras go down and the lights turn off, I still have a full audio podcast set up that I have the audio, and then I can take that and turn that into something. Fasten the microphone boom arm on one side of the table where the guest will be sitting, then attach your microphone to the boom arm and plug the XLR cable in. Then run the XLR cable under the table to your Cloudlifter and repeat this process for the other microphone. Then you're going to run the XLR cable from the Cloudlifter to input 1. Then do the same for the other mic, except run that into input 2. Make sure you don't get these wires crossed, or the signal may not go through, or it may be distorted. Turn on your Rodecaster and hit the number 1 button. Go to levels and make sure you have phantom power turned on. This will power the Cloudlifter, and without it, you won't get any signal. With the Cloud Lifter, you'll probably end up setting the gain between 26 and 29, but speak into the mic relatively loudly until the signal falls in the green zone consistently. Repeat this same thing for microphone 2. Now connect the Rodecaster Pro to your computer using a USB or USB-C connector. Now, taking a look at Logic, we'll need to create a new project and select audio. If we have 2 guests, we'll create 3 tracks, and you'll see why in a second. Let's click on track 1 and change the input from input 1 to the stereo input 1 and 2. The Rodecaster records the entire mix to the 1-2 stereo output, and this will allow you to capture the recording in its entirety. Then go to track 2 and set that to input 3. Go to track 3 and set that to input 4. This will allow you to record each individual guest's audio as well as the full track. Now hold Shift and select all the tracks, and in one sweep, select the R button until they're flashing red. Now to verify that I'm getting sound in all the individual tracks, I clap my hands and make sure volume is coming through. When you're ready to record, hit R or click the red circle up top. When you're ready to export the audio, go to File, Bounce, Project or Section, and select the MP3 and the length of the audio you're exporting. Now, as another recording backup, tap the Record button on your Rodecaster Pro. This will allow you to record each individual track right onto the device, and I think of this as just another great audio backup, and I've had it where Logic craps out on me while I'm recording, and I've used the SD card that's in the back of that to save the project and still be able to deliver for my customer. If I didn't have that, I would have been shit out of luck. So again, as many audio backups, as many video backups as you can do, the better. All right, so now at this point, you have a full audio podcast in place. Let's say you run out of time to set up the cameras fail, you run out of memory on your cameras, the lights shut off in the middle, whatever it might be, you still have the ability to deliver an audio podcast. If you got to throw a little audiogram or something like that, or a picture up to save it, you can. You can still deliver this for yourself or for your customers. All hope isn't lost. And now you have this foundation built that you can now add the cameras and the lighting to. So let's move on to the cameras. Again, I wanted to set this up similar to the Joe Rogan experience. That way I could go live with it. I could do the editing in real time and really turn this stuff around for customers within 24 hours. So that's the philosophy behind this setup. Now that we know where the guests are going to be sitting, we can set up the cameras accordingly. You could have one camera on each of the guests and then one camera on the entire room. That's how I set it up, but there are no rules here. So if you want to set it up differently, go for it. Start by setting up the tripods in the spot that you want, then fasten the cameras to them. Adjust the zoom and position to be able to fit the guest in frame. Then attach your power supply so these things can stay on indefinitely. Now we're going to set up the TV monitor and the ATEM at the producer table. Run an HDMI cable from the HDMI out port on the ATEM into the TV. This will allow you to view the video in real time while you're editing. Now take your HDMI mini cables and run them from each of the cameras into the HDMI ports on the ATEM. You'll see the video feeds pop up on the TV monitor, and by tapping the different number buttons, you can switch between shots. Now take your SSD drive and plug that into the USB slot. You can verify if the ATEM detects it when the storage wheel pops up and shows how much recording time you have left. To record to your SSD, just hit the record button at the top and it'll turn red. Put at least one SD card in each of the cameras so you can record locally to the cameras. I recommend recording 1080p at 30 or 60 frames per second. Now, as another audio backup, I like to run from the Rodecaster into the ATEM Mini. So if you take that 1/4 inch left-right cable, plug the red into the R, and plug the white into the L, you can run that into the Mic 1 input on the ATEM. But be sure that you turn the Mic 1 on the ATEM. If you don't hit the on button there, no sound is going to come through and it won't capture any of it. All right, that's pretty much it for the video side of things. I know there's a ton of cables, but as you can see, it's not that complex once you break it down. Now let's quickly talk about the lighting. The fluorescent lights in most offices can look a little nasty, so I like these LEDs. I use the GVM 800 series, and really I would say you probably want to get at least 3 of these, maybe 4 if you want to add some color in. To start, keep it easy, get 3 of these lights, shine one on the room, shine the others at your guests, and then figure it out from there. Some things you may want to look at is if you have the lights on too strong or you have people too close to the walls, you can get some ugly shadows. Play around with it, test this out. I'm sure there's an exact science, but I don't know it. And if you play around with this stuff for a few episodes, you'll be able to figure out. Also, I recommend getting your camera and your lighting temperatures lined up. So on my lights, I have them set to 4000 Kelvin. If you go into the camera, you can also change the white balance to 4000 Kelvin. And with that, you're ready to go. This is the quick way to set this whole thing up. I wanted to keep it high level in case you have no experience. You could still follow along. Trust me, I was there not too long ago. I was able to figure a lot of this stuff out. But like I said, I'm hoping that I can help you avoid that. And now I have a favor to ask of you. I do want to turn this into a more in-depth online course, but rather than building this for no one, I would like to build it for you. So if you can, please follow the description that's in the link below, or the link in the description below, to fill out that form. It'll probably take you about 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you some questions on what you'd like to see more in depth of. And honestly, there's no stupid answers. If there's something that I didn't even come close to covering that you really need help with, put it in there. And by doing that, you'll actually sign up to be entered into a giveaway to win one of these ATEM Mini ISOs. Also throwing in the SanDisk SSD card and then a few of these SD cards. So that way, regardless if you end up going with these cameras or these microphones, you're still going to need that switcher. You're still going to need those memory cards. So regardless what other equipment you end up going with, this can still benefit you. So we'll be giving that away at the beginning of March 2022. So in the meantime, please go ahead, fill that form out. I would greatly appreciate it. And we'll announce a winner in March of 2022.